Welcome to Talk Purpose and Truth, shifting you into higher consciousness. A show that elevates, uplifts, and encourages listeners to grow, heal, awaken, and evolve. Eden and Kim include bold topics, interviews with inspiring guests, experts, and celebrities, intuitive readings, channeled messages, mental health awareness, and hot topics to expand your awareness.
So I am happy to, it's been, I think I have known this person for, I don't know, 17 years or something. It's hard to keep track, but I think since like 2006, maybe. She can say yes or no to that. But Jennifer Braff, she will tell you more. We'll ask her lots of questions and she'll tell you more. But she's just a very sweet, warm-hearted soul that draws people to her with her great energy. And Eden's nodding because she could already tell that Jennifer's like that. And she was Jerry Buss's executive assistant with the LA Lakers for over 20 years. She was known as a cougar on Age of Love TV show, which I watched many years back. That was a big show because that was kind of the beginning, you know, with American Pie and all that, with using the word cougar. And she's done modeling. She was a talk show host of a modern beauty TV show. She wrote 2 books, Cougar Dating, A Woman's Guide to Dating Men of All Ages, and I Am Cougar, Hear Me Roar, a self-help autobiography, which serves as a guide on how women can bring back and preserve their youthfulness and sex appeal, which we all, just looking at her, you can say, okay, I want to ask questions on how you do it. Because, oh my God, Jen, you look the same as when I met you that long ago. And that's amazing. You look even more beautiful.
Thank you. Well,
welcome.
I feel, I can't even tell you how much better even from then, back then I feel now. Wow. And that's what, that is what is the most important to me. What I do, everything I do for now is for my health, because I went through some things and I've come back even better, you know, so I'm so thankful, and I'm happy to answer any questions you have about how I got here and how I'm staying here for
Well, let's start with that. Like, tell us kind of go into your
journey.
You've had a lot of great experiences.
Yeah. Well, after, you know, as you mentioned, I worked for Dr. Buss and the Lakers for many years until he passed. He had cancer. You know, there was a lot of trauma going through that, because he was also my best friend. And after that, I went through a period of time where I got very ill, and the doctors couldn't find out what was wrong with me, but I basically was bedridden for almost a year. And the doctors couldn't figure it out. A lot of them thought it was, you know, psychological. And I even thought, well, you know, I just went through an experience where I lost someone very important in my life, and maybe emotionally and mentally, it just kind of, you know, took me down. But I finally found a holistic doctor, a naturopath, a nutritionist, and also a internal medicine doctor who finally diagnosed me. And the illness is called ME. You could look it up. It's just very hard to pronounce. But basically, there are all kinds of symptoms like chronic fatigue syndrome, fibromyalgia. I wasn't getting enough oxygen. My lung capacity was only at 60 to 65%.
Wow.
You know, even opening a jar. And I had always been fit and pretty healthy. I ate well, and I exercised. And up until this point, you know, I was doing pretty well, even as I was getting older. And this just knocked me down. And I had to, when I did meet my naturopath doctor, holistic doctor, she was amazing. And she was spiritual in a lot of her healing ways. And she started me on my healing journey. She gave me, so one of the main things, I was just talking about this, I always tell people to incorporate this. You can make your own, and it's bone broth. And bone broth is so healing, and it's so good for you. The collagen, the minerals from the bones. I make mine in a crock pot. You throw in your bones, whatever, bones. If you eat meat, I eat meat. Meat does good for my body. Some people are vegetarians or vegans, and if that works for them, that's great. If that they can keep their health that way. I tend to need the meat, and not all the time. I don't eat a lot of it, but I do incorporate it into my diet. And of course, I am now, I'm skipping way forward, but I'm back to where I can work out. Um, Weight training or weightlifting is really important, especially as we women get older, because we tend to, from the age, I think, 40, we start to lose muscle density, muscle mass. And also, of course, women have the tendency to start losing bone mass and deplete our nutrients are depleted. And then we go through the hormone thing, and that screws a lot of women over. And thank goodness I'm through that. I'm over the menopause thing. I'm post-menopause. I don't need to take any more. I was on bioidenticals. It did help me. But now all I do is I take supplements. I use food as my medicine. I'm not on any um, prescription meds, and I'm basically in remission with my illness. And I feel, like I mentioned earlier, I feel better than ever. I'm stronger, and I'm healthier, and have more energy than I've ever had. And yeah, and I'm a grandma now, and my grandson Logan was really kind of catapulted me to be able to get to the point where I wanted to be, where I could play with him, watch him grow, be a part of his life, and not just sit back and be like, and he is a ball of energy. So, so I am to that point. And even I talked to my son yesterday, and I'm going to see them this weekend. And I said, my whole thing is I want to be able to carry him. And he's 4, but he's a big 4-year-old. And I said, even if his feet drag on the ground, the fact that I'm able to have that strength and energy from where I came from is just, I'm so grateful. I couldn't be happier about that. So,
oh, that's amazing. And it's an amazing example of how we can heal naturally, like through natural remedies and heal, like spirituality and all those things that, in food and, plant medicine. And I believe in that.
Yeah. I do a lot of one thing I started doing, and I've probably been using collagen now, and I've been telling everybody for years and years, incorporate collagen, and it's really hard for us to get all the nutrients and vitamins in our bodies that we really need, because we just don't eat. We can't eat enough. You know what I mean? It's just,
you need the supplements.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And and it's really important to have certain, vitamin D3 is important, and a lot of us are deficient in that. There was something I had on the top of my head. But I can't think of it now. But anyway, the things I do every day that I try to incorporate that are important is not just having those nutrients and vitamins and exercise and eating right, but oh, that's what it was. I used to, and back in the 80s, Kim, maybe you remember this, they would say, the experts, do not eat fat, don't eat fat. Fat will
Oh,
turn
yeah.
into fat. Well, that's a mistake.
Yeah, I learning that too. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not bad fats, seed oils,
Avocados.
avocado, yes,
Yes.
olive oil,
Yes.
coconut oil, butter
Yes.
even.
Yes, I've been
So,
all the same
yeah,
thing I'm learning too with the person I'm starting to work with now.
yeah,
Yeah.
awesome.
Okay.
And that was honestly my hair now. I mean, I went through a phase. I was just mentioning to someone how I went through a phase where I wore extensions because my hair was, it would grow, but it was so thin and fine. And I just thought, well, that's what happens as you get older, your hair, that's what happens. But then I started incorporating the good fats back into my diet, into my eating, and the collagen I've been doing, and then learning, you know, what else. Like when you take collagen, you have to take also vitamin C. And I've also I've started a month ago on new research on silica water, which also helps you assimilate the collagen into your body. So, and I constantly like to try to, you know, keep up with the new research and scientific, studies and latest everything because, science is ever changing. People get stuck in, this is what I learned and this is what my doctor said and this is what I've always been doing and it worked, but then you turn 40 and something you were doing doesn't work anymore, and then you turn 50 and that everything that was then doesn't work, and et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, but that I think especially bringing back the fats back into my body, it did a lot for my skin as well. My skin isn't dry the way it was starting to get dry. My hair just, it grows like a weed now.
So you're getting younger.
I know.
Yeah, I think that, we just expect, if you hear a little squeak, it's my cat. She's looking at me, talking to me.
I was like, is that a pig?
Yeah, I'm sitting on where she has usually her little princess bed.
Oh, you're
like,
in her
what
territory.
Are you doing? Yeah,
how cute.
She's like, this is not normal, mother. What are you doing? But yeah, cutting out also. I haven't cut out completely. I don't cut out 100%. My rule is 80-20 because you have to live life. I do believe in that. You can be so strict that you can't enjoy your life anymore because you're so worried about what you're eating and, I can't eat here because I'm, I have to exercise those hours, or
you don't want to get obsessive.
Right. But intermittent fasting also I've been doing for 6 months now, and that has been amazing for my health.
Yeah, I've heard that from a lot of people.
Yeah.
So yeah, very helpful for everybody. And the fat thing I love. I'm like, yeah, you can eat fat. It's not like those decades where they're like fat free everything and like all these chemicals and so can you talk a little bit more about your experience with, we have a lot of LA and California listeners. Can you talk a little more about your experience with the LA Lakers? And I know you knew Kobe, and that's a lot of loss too. I know that's been very hard for you.
Yeah, there was when Kobe, actually, I'll tell my story about Kobe. When I was, of course, working for Jerry before Kobe came onto the team, Jerry was, we would talk, we'd have our talks, and he had mentioned to me that, we were bringing on a new young man to the team, and he was amazing and right out of high school.
Yeah, wasn't he like only 17?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay.
And I said, well, he sounds amazing. He sounds incredible. He said, yeah. He said, he's going to be a really great player, And I said, really? He goes, yeah, one of the best, I think. This was Jerry. Jerry had a lot of foresight, and so so I said, oh, really? Better than or as good as Michael Jordan? And he said, maybe even better, at least as good as, I think, he said, in my opinion, but maybe even better. So I was very excited. And, a couple months later, he was signed to the team and we had our game starting. And I remember walking into the press lounge. And this is when Jerry still owned the Forum. We hadn't gone to the Staples Center yet. And I walked into the back office for some reason. Everybody already was in their seats at the game. And I went to the office to pick something up, and I came out into the press lounge, and I stopped to look at the screen because the game was just starting, and Kobe hadn't started playing yet, but he was already joined on the team. And wouldn't you know it, he comes out of the hallway and he has his bag. I guess he was coming from the practice area or wherever. And he stops and he puts his bag down. He stands next to me and he goes, hi. He puts out his hand. He goes, I'm Kobe Bryant. And I said, oh, hi. My name is Jennifer and I'm Dr. Bess's assistant. And I've heard so many great things about you. And I'm very excited for you to join the team. And, we all are. We're all happy. And I said, welcome to the Lakers. And he thanked me and he said, this has been a dream of mine all my life. And he said, I can't even believe. And he was 17, of course. So he was just glowing and, smile from ear to ear. And he said, and I still can't believe that, I'm here. And that was our first meeting. And it was pretty awesome, to remember that. He was so young. He was a baby.
Wow.
Yeah.
And he got to live his dream.
Yeah, he did. And then years later, I think I was 50 because he had come into this is at the Staples Center now. And he never would come into the chairman's room because that's what it was called. I don't know if you had ever come and gone into the chairman's room. Did you ever?
No.
Oh, I wish I would have had you come, to have the experience. But so he came in after the game, like a lot of people that had the invitation to come in, people that were friends and celebrities, and there was a bar and tables and food. And I was sitting down at a table. It was kind of a smaller room. And Kobe comes in with his two bodyguards and he sits down. And by now I'm 50, so he's 30 something.
Okay.
Yes, And so he says hi and I say hi. And he goes, I said, I remember meeting you. Do you remember you were 18? And he goes, yes, I remember, but I was 17. And I said, that's right, you're 17. And then he said something about, he asked me where I lived, where I grew up. We were talking about where we grew up. And I said, I grew up in Carson. And he said, oh, those girls in Carson are pretty wild or something like that. And I said, oh, are they? I said, maybe so. I said, I don't know because I'm older now. So maybe the young girls are. And he's like, older? What are you, my age? And I said, no, actually, no, I'm a lot older. And I said I was 50. And he said, no, you're not. I ended up I ended up showing him my ID, and he stood up and he was just like, oh my gosh. He was like, well, whatever you're doing, he goes, keep on doing it.
Wow.
You know, he said, you look amazing. And that was a pretty nice compliment coming from like the most famous, you know, athlete in the
Totally.
world,
Yep.
you know? And so that was probably one of the last times that I had a, you know, close conversation with him. I had seen him here and there. I worked out of Dr. Buss's home. My office was in there. So I would see, you know, everyone. I would see him and say hi when he'd come and have meetings and see Jerry. But then, you know, Jerry passed, and, you know, I worked for about 6 months longer for the Lakers. But then after that, I started actually looking for more work. And then you women will, like, you will appreciate this because you know how things work, you know, in life. And I was not finding any, you know, work. I was applying for jobs, but of course, you know, as an assistant, you know, to Dr. Buss, it was a totally different world than, you know, an office assistant. And, you know, the Laker organization was, you know, we were family. And so anyway, it was just so, I was pretty much at the end of, you know, my severance. I was really getting concerned that I was, you know, where am I going to make my money to survive, to keep my place, etc. And the night before, you know, actually I just prayed. I was crying, and I was like, how could I be left in this situation, especially after so many years of dedicating my life, you know, to this work, and being loyal. And so I was just, after I cried it all out, I just said, okay, God, I'm just going to leave it up to you. The next day, the man that bought Dr. Buss's home emailed me. I'm talking the next morning I got up with the whole different, I had released everything. And and he asked if because I had met him through the real estate agent briefly before I left, still working there. But, you know, I did ask him if he needed an assistant. I should have mentioned that before. And he said, oh, no, you know, I don't need, I've never had an assistant. I don't need one. And he goes, but if I'll keep my eyes and ears open for you. And I said, oh, I appreciate that. So the next morning, again, there was an email from him saying, if you are still looking for a job, he said, I think that I could use an assistant now. And can you meet on the following Tuesday? And, you know, one thing led to another, had the meeting, he hired me, and I worked out of Dr. Buss's house. That was now
crazy.
Now Jim's house, who was my boss, and I worked for him. I still get the chills.
I know.
And I got to sit at the same spot that I could see out to the water, and I could still everything. He kept a lot of the things, actually, some of the like the paintings and things that were left, if he wanted them, from Jerry. And of course, for me, Jerry's spirit was there. And it was kind of like he was my angel, reminding me that everything's going to be okay. And it worked out just long enough that I could kind of get back on my feet to go into the real world. That, you know, I wasn't really, I guess the Laker thing was kind of, I was in a circle of people who looked after me and, you know, were my family. Like I said, I started out as Jerry's two youngest boys' nanny before I even became his executive assistant. So it really was my family, and they still are. I consider them still, my family.
So you're still
Wow.
in contact with them still?
Yeah, I'm not as much as I should be, because that's my, when I had a lot of things happening, I didn't distance myself from certain people on purpose. But when I got sick and then I went on my healing journey, I realized that I had to, and here comes where you were talking earlier,
The boundaries.
the
Yes.
boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized at that time, which has nothing to do with the Laker family, but people that I had given my time and energy and kindness and love and time, especially again, to who weren't really for me ever, who I made sure that I was there for support. And, even when they hurt me, and I mentioned, I'm an empath. I know you are too, Kim, and Eden, I could tell you are as well. We would give and give and give, even if we're being depleted.
Yep.
And I got to the point where I was like, how am I'm giving to the same person who would just as soon burn my hands, and then I'm still going, well, here I still have arms,
Yeah.
and I realized that wasn't helping my health, my mental health, my emotional health. Even some family members I had to, and not, I don't say cut off, and I don't say, I don't ever speak to them again, but I quietly just kind of pulled myself away, and just didn't leave myself vulnerable to people who would take that advantage of that.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of people, unfortunately, who, if you allow them, they will, take advantage of you. And as empaths, we tend to even draw in. We're like magnets to those people, right?
Yeah. It's interesting because like years ago when I did really deep work, I realized I had been a people pleaser. And one of the things it tied back to was that I got bullied, basically, like had kids like pick on me and make fun of me. And I had friends when I was really young all stop being my friend, and I was alone. And so I realized that over the years when I was younger, I would just latch on and like be so worried of losing friends that I would people please.
Yeah.
To make sure to keep them, because I was afraid of that happening again. So it really helped to do that work, because it made me go, oh my gosh, I don't need to be doing this anymore.
Right. And I have so much more peace in my life.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's hard because the guilt, I had to learn not to feel guilty for actually putting my health and my well-being first. And it's not an ego thing. And that's, a lot of people are like, yeah, I'm first. I'm putting myself first.
Right.
No, it's not selfish. No.
No, it's not. It's just that, hey, I can't help anybody else if I'm not healthy and I'm not fit to, even be dealing with other people. That's not going to work. And so, yeah, at the healing part, that, as I said, I was basically bedridden. So I was alone, except for the people that had to be helping me. I used that time to first learn about my illness and my body and what was happening and what I could do to heal myself in that way, but also psychologically and spiritually. And now prayer is my meditation. And and I've always felt that there was a bigger purpose in my life, and that there were reasons why I went through everything in my life. And and this, Kim, I had gone through, I was abused when I was a child. And I carried that I carried that, I don't know if the word is stigma, but I did carry it inside, the guilt and the feeling, I wasn't so much bullied, but I already had that feeling of inferiority. Because when certain things happen and you have trauma, or you just, you don't have the type of support that you need, or, expect to have from people that are close to you, you don't, as a child, that really weighs on your self-esteem and self-confidence. So it is a journey, and I'm 64 now, but I have to say, as I said earlier, I feel the most, I feel better than I've ever felt in every way, possible. But it's still a journey. I'm still learning, and I still react sometimes with my past. I still, it's
because you're triggered.
Yes. I have PTSD, and I was just triggered by an incident that happened that I had to stop and go, whoa, how is this still affecting me this strong? Because I need to still obviously work on that, because I don't want to be held captive by my past or anything like that,
That's awesome. Yeah, a lot of people do. A lot of people make it their identity, Yeah.
I would say maybe the majority of people. Yeah. Because I did do therapy as well. But therapy, can only go so far. I mean, if and I'm not knocking any in the field, but sometimes, you have to do like you do, you have to do your spiritual work, your healing, and sometimes that can't ever even be pulled out of you to speak to another person, professional. It has to be your work, you and God, or you and the universe, whatever, however it works to heal you that way.
Absolutely. We both are all about that.
Yep.
Thank you for listening to Talk Purpose and Truth podcast. Find out more at talkpurposeandtruth.com. And follow us at Talk Purpose Truth on Instagram and Facebook.